India's market news headquarters. Cutting-edge analysis. Influential insights. Market-moving intelligence. Broadcasting live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Hello and welcome to Bazaar Morning Call. You're watching us live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studio. I'm Sonia Shenoy, and with me are Nigel and Surbi. Guys, interesting last 2 weeks in the market. Back after a while, but good to see that the markets are back on their feet.
Welcome back, Sonia.
Welcome back.
It's really been hectic, right, for the markets, but good to see that they've bounced back, and how?
Well, that's right. And a fair bit of action, Sonia, is what you missed. But, the market's a little bit higher from where you left. I think when you left, it would be a little south of 23,000. Yeah. We're holding around 23,500. So let's see how it goes from here.
And we've navigated an election, what was looking like an upset, but maybe not so much of an upset. The Fed policy. So a lot has happened. And, it's not just in India. US markets also hitting those record highs. So, yeah, it's bulls charging ahead across global equity streets.
So as they say, right, if you don't look at the markets for a month or two, it's actually a good thing because you escape all the volatility and finally you're back where you started. So not such a bad thing, I guess. But lots of cues to, take forward this morning. So let's get straight to it. First up, of course, the markets continue to be at record highs. So that's always a good thing, good for the bulls. The Nifty is actually up 4% in the last 2 weeks, and this is the biggest two-week gain that we've seen since December of 2023. Both FIIs and DIIs bought in the cash markets, so, a lot of big events to watch out for. But if you look at the numbers, right, FIIs bought about 2170 crores in the cash markets on Friday. DIIs bought about 650 odd crores, so the money continues to come in thick and fast. The next big events for the market, one is, of course, the union budget, and the second is Q1 earnings, and sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the budget presentation may happen on the 22nd of July. So that is the big date to watch out for. Ahead of that, of course, Qs are a bit on the lighter side, so maybe the markets could just see some bit of consolidation with a positive bias, as the GIFT Nifty is suggesting today. But global markets continue to be very strong. The S&P 500 continues to hit record highs. In fact, overnight as well, the Dow was up about 190 odd points. The Nasdaq had a very strong run last week. It was up almost about 3.5%. Nvidia has hit an all-time high as well. Apple jumped nearly 2%. So that clearly is the space to be. But let's see, it's a truncated week. We have just 4 trading sessions and the market has bounced back in a big way. So perhaps we can continue to hold on to our highs of last week and maybe chug along till the next big event.
Well, absolutely. Take everything that you say, Sonia. It's just that before I even get to my chat, I want to start with the one big cue, and that's the only worrying factor as I see all the markets around us, and that's oil prices. Yes. Look at what's going on. NYMEX, by the way, has touched 80. We don't talk about that contract because Brent is more relevant to us looking at the Indian crude basket, but NYMEX is at 80, WTI crude, and Brent is now inching towards 85, and this is building on a 4% rally that the oil markets had last week. And again, we've got sort of, fresh impetus on overnight action as far as oil prices is concerned. So watch for this. This is the one big negative. Otherwise, it's been blue sky territory, really, for markets here at home and for Wall Street as well. And we had more of that. The market was very buoyant on Friday. Indices managed another record closing even yesterday. The S&P, of course, and the Nasdaq have been leading the charge. But even the Dow joined in the party yesterday, so that was good news. On bonds, US bond yields are getting extremely volatile. So we saw a very quick and snappy drop all the way to 4.2. And now there's a bit of a reversal coming in. And that's because of some commentary that's coming in from Fed officials. We had the Minneapolis Fed president, Neil Kashkari, speaking. And the indication that he gave was that the Fed may cut only once this year in calendar year 2024. And that cut also might happen only by December. So that, by some analysts, was seen as a bit of a hawkish comment because it's pushing back those rate cut expectations even further down the year. And therefore, bond yields started rising. There was a 7-8 basis points rise, depending on which paper you're looking at in the US. So watch for that. There's going to be retail sales data, retail sales data that comes in place. That's in focus. For us here in a row, it has been a green ride. 3 consecutive days of hitting fresh highs, and the latest number got us all the way closer to 23,500. In fact, it's been a pretty good month so far. So let's pull up the tally. In June so far, the Nifty is up about 4.2%. the broader markets. That's where the story is, right? Mid-cap index is up almost 7%, small-cap index up 8%. Look at the bank Nifty. The question that I have today is this index going to start playing a bit of a catch-up? It's up only about 2%. It did manage a close above 50,000 on Friday, so that was one milestone that got taken out. And it's, as I said, just about 2.5% away from the all-time highs. By the way, speaking of banks, SBI did something interesting. It hiked its MCLR by 10 basis points, which means all the loans linked to MCLR will also go higher. So we'll watch out for some of the bank stocks and SBI in particular. Auto stocks, of course, continue to be in focus because we have a mega IPO coming. Hyundai has finally filed its DRHP, and this could be a massive $3 billion IPO. So auto stocks on Friday were extremely revved up. Let's see if we get more of that. And last but not the least, want to leave this on your radar as well. The Prime Minister is in UP and Bihar over the next 2 days. And there's a lot of, rural focus events that have been lined up, including the Kisan Samman Sammelan, where he'll be releasing 20,000 crores of the next tranche of the PM Kisan Yojana. And why am I watching for this? Because, guys, you remember, Nigel, you'd remember this. It was all about noting whether the government's commentary and its policy action will tilt a little more towards the rural side.
Yeah.
Let's see what kind of posturing we get, what kind of headlines we get. But it could be important from the consumption stocks point of view as well.
All right. Well, in terms of the 23,500, that's been a level that we've not been able to decisively conquer on a closing basis. But the good point was on Friday's trading session, we went around that mark. And in fact, we came off only around 25 points from that peak. On a day-to-day basis, otherwise we were coming off close to around 100 points odd. So we went closer to that mark and we came up with 25 points by the time we did wind up. What did the FIs do? Well, they added close to around 11,000 contracts. So long addition is what we saw. And because of this kind of long addition and the short covering that we've seen, well, the short positions, in percentage terms, they've come down from around 87%. Now they've come down to around 53% odd. So bulk of that short covering that we were talking about, that's taken place. How are the FIs positioned? Well, they continue to remain net short, but mildly so, only 25,000 contracts on the short side. And corresponding to that, you have the client positioning. That's at a net long position of around 25,000 contracts. So those two are balancing out each other. Remember, at the peak, you had FI net shorts at 3 lakh contracts and the client net long at more than 3 lakh contracts. So, you've seen some unwinding of longs from the clients and you've seen some covering from the FIs on the short side as well. What about the India VIX? We have made this point earlier that will it be a repeat of 2019? And it appears so because, the VIX spiked up. It went all the way to around 30 odd. And from there, it's halved. In fact, it's the lowest level we have seen all the way since late April 2024 as well. So the VIX is cooling off. That's normally a bullish indicator. What about the PCR? The PCR, well, that's moved up to a little bit higher. Remember, a few sessions ago, it was only at around 1. Now it's at around 1.3 because the put action has been far more. Even in Friday's trading session, the 23,300 put, well, that added close to around 20 lakh shares. While on the call side, the 23,500 call, well, that's seeing a fair bit of addition. And just plugging in these numbers with the premium, you get the levels that you're looking at. Near-term resistance will be at around 23,600 odd. That's going to be the resistance level. Support comes in at around 23,200. Even last week, we went closer to this level. And from there, we did see a bounce. Final hour of trade, we'll be looking out for the Nifty Financial Services Index because that plays out the weekly expiry. The stock that I'm looking at in the cash market, well, it's Gujarat Industries Power Limited. They have been, talking about increasing a capacity over there. So that's one stock that we'll be looking at. And the focus is going to be on the renewable side of things. So execution will be tracked from here. But the stock went ahead and it made a fresh 52-week high in Friday's trading session. And for the last few sessions, delivery has been massive. On a day-to-day basis, we have been seeing that the average delivery in the month of June is close to around 10 lakh shares. That compares with around 2 lakh shares. So clearly, some parts of the street believes that execution is going to happen from here on, though I'll just keep an eye out on the debt book. But otherwise, you keep an eye out on this one. It conquered the 20 DMA and made a fresh 52-week high.
Okay, very helpful there. Thanks a lot, Nigel, for that. So we'll watch out for all of these stocks and more. But very quickly, let's kickstart the show with some opinion coming through to you. First up, we have commentary coming in from Sanjeev Prasad of Kotak Institutional Equities, who says, in their view, the upcoming state elections may see state governments turning more populist, even as the central government broadly sticks with its current agenda. He says BJP is currently the incumbent in many such states and the results of the Lok Sabha elections may force a number of state governments to turn more populist. Meanwhile, he adds opposition parties are likely to be further emboldened by these results and continue to up their populist ante. However, he notes that the central government has enough fiscal space to pursue more aggressive capex, a moderate increase in revenue expenditure and fiscal consolidation, and the government can also look to increase its divestment target given the excitement around PSU stocks.
Okay, that's a view from Kotak Institutional Equities. Upasana Chachra of Morgan Stanley says, unlike most central banks in Asia, they do not expect the RBI to cut rates. She says growth is strong and inflation, while moderating, is still above target. Moreover, she thinks the RBI will see the need to keep real rates somewhat high to ward off potential financial stability risks.
Okay, let's also tell you what's happening in the money markets. Abhishek Goenka of India FX and Asset Management says the dollar has strengthened overall and the dollar INR is back in the familiar 83.50 to 83.55 territory, where it is likely encountering intervention from the central bank. He says weakness in the yuan is also weighing on the rupee. He adds implied volatility, however, continues to remain extremely suppressed, and he expects the rupee to trade in a range of 82.70 to 83.70 over the medium term.
On bonds, Vishal Goenka of IndiaBonds.com says the market will open after a long weekend and see resistance levels for bond yields. At this level, he says US Fed officials continue to underplay timing and number of rate cuts for this year to a maximum of one for 2024. He says oil continued its rally with Brent above $84 a barrel again, and US dollar strengthened as well. He says significant geopolitical upcoming events in Europe with France and UK elections will keep global markets tentative. He's expecting the 10-year benchmark bond yield to trade in a range of 6.97 to 7.02%.
Well, we've got a lot of stock-specific action track for you. We'll get to that in just a bit in our special Top 10 segment. For the time being, we'll run you through the list. We're looking at Mahindra, Bharti Airtel, Interglobe Aviation, Hindustan Aeronautics, Godawari Power and Ispat. You have Jubilant Pharmova, as well as BLS E-Services. All of them will be reacting to positive news flow. On the flip side, IFL Finance, Biocon, Sterlite Tech will be stocks that will be reacting to negative news flow.
Okay, so all of those stocks, more details on them coming up in just a bit. But